Viewers, well, I got a little bit curious. Got this helium tank here. I noticed, well, the helium valve is a very similar size to a refrigerant valve. Sure enough, it's the exact same fitting. There we are, I just pump it onto a good vacuum. The one-way valve isn't very effective yet, but unless I flat it all the way, the one-way valve allows air to get in there and out, or gases in this case. What I have done, I got this with fittings off eBay. The locally available ones by local refrigerator mechanic shop, the copper props too thin. I got these thicker quality ones off eBay. Solder that on there, now I've got a good vacuum pump. It's R1348 compressor. Don't have to worry about changing the oil for high chill uses. Yeah, just pump this and down under a good vacuum. So if I've got to recover some refrigerant for whatever reason, I've got to take full of vacuum ready to suck stuff out of the system. Bear in mind though, once you get the equilibrium inside the pressure inside there, once you get more than 15 psi inside that tank, then you're going to need a compressor to suck refrigerant out of the system to put it in here to recover with. Bear in mind, this will blow out at 350 psi. So you don't want to, you've got to be very careful. It's just as illegal using the tank that's not appropriately designed for recovering refrigerant. It's also just as big a fine having refrigerant that's banned that you might recover, such as R12 or R22. If you're recovering those sorts of refrigerants and you have them in your possession, you get a big fine. If you release them into the atmosphere, you get a big fine. So you're kind of screwed either way, so. There we go, they're off. We've got no air coming out of that, that's fully vacuumed. It's quite about 2mm thick cylinder walls, so it won't cave in under the pressure of this thing from the atmosphere. Shut that. I'll disconnect the yellow hose off the compressor, shut this valve. That's 30 inches of mercury I've got there. I'm going to use this for high chill use. Let the compressor suck itself down. Inside here, have no air in there. That way the moisture's driven out. There's no air coming out of there at all. That's fully vacuumed. I'm going to store it like that. Bear in mind, if there's a vacuum in there, the motor can't get cool. There's nothing there. Or in this case, if I was sucking air with it, the fan on the stator of the motor is moving air around with the oil, and it helps a little bit of cooling. But if it's pulling nothing but vacuum, there's no air, there's nothing to swish around to get the windings cool. You're relying pretty much on the oil in there to get cool the motor down. So I was surprised I saw the compressor, there's actually, yeah, gets to 30 inches of mercury. Takes a while, but it works. This has got a full vacuum in it now. There's nothing in there at all, it's fully vacuumed. But I want to keep this as a recovery tank. More than likely it'll be for high chill refrigerant, because that's the hydrocarbon refrigerant you can have without a license. It's naturally occurring. It's a blend of very pure propane and butane, R600A and R290. This is pretty much all you're going to have now. The way the climate change Thunbergs and the retards are going, this is all you're going to have access to, just that. That's the most legal or the most cleanest natural refrigerant that's going to be available if they're going to get their way any longer. It's I mean, on paper and from the manufacturer it's a pretty good refrigerant, but I know a lot of the R134A fanboys say and the R12 fanboys say this is rubbish, but we're going to have bloody choice. It does have a better performance though. So what I really want to do, I'm going to make up my own system. I'm going to make my own condenser and evaporator up or from scavenged scrap. I'm going to make up my own little chiller. Have a compressor. Have my own little custom evaporator coil. And what it is, a condenser from a car. But bear in mind, I'm going to have to flush all the oil out of it because you don't want any ethylene glycol oil in an electric motor. That will just chill all the insulation off the windings. Yeah, that's the recipe for disaster, so I'll have to flush the automotive glycol oil out of it before I use it for anything like with electric motors like this. The Red Bull fridge was going pretty well. It didn't actually leak all the way. It's just a high pressure leak, so I gave it back and the guy was happy with it. I did put a little tiny bit more of this in there, but he was happy with it. It's a low pressure, it holds the refrigerant at low pressure, so he's happy, I'm happy. Yeah, it's one thing I don't like about the modern refrigerators. They don't use copper anymore in the pipework. When you get up to the evaporator, it's all aluminium pipework. Some I've seen thin-walled steel used now. In the 70s that was common, having steel piping, but it was thick and it was quality metal. Nowadays the stuff from China, you're pretty much using plastic McDonald's straws as pipework. Pretty much rubbish. So if you really buy new fridges now, there's a lot less copper with them these days. Not only is it worth absolutely bugger all when you scrap them, but it just doesn't last and it just pits and corrodes like crazy. Anyway, I might even play with some difluoroethane duster cans. That stuff's a nice replacement for R114. Difluoroethane's used in duster cans. Same characteristics as this, flammability wise, but it replaces R114 using these old Frigidaires. So your rotary compressors in these are metamisers run at higher pressures, but difluoroethane used in duster cans. You got to look on a label when you buy them, though. If it's got actually got that in it, and that gas is actually a perfect drop-in replacement for R114, which is good to know. Difluoroethane cans they're available in Australia, but not very commonly over the counter. It's something from a supermarket or something. Most I've seen in a supermarket, I've seen the odd 134A can, but I've seen lots of butane alternative duster cans. Why I would substitute butane as a duster can for your computer is beyond me, but just too much of an explosion is a spark. But I guess the being killed in a house fire is better for the environment than releasing greenhouse gases or CFCs. Oh well. But that's actually worked out quite well. There's also a leak here in the weld. Initially that's what this fridge ran out of gas in the first place. Not a Fisher and Paykel fridge, was our old house fridge. Back in the late 90s. Then my old man gathered it, so it just had a little leak here. A slow leak, that's all that was wrong with it initially in the first place. So that would have been an easy fix. Oh well. The old fridge wasn't that good anyway. No, actually was a Kelvinator. It was a late 90s Kelvinator. Just before it went crap and made crap fridges. I might actually I might even dig at my Tecumseh pancake compressor out of storage and change the oil on that and put the compatible oil in there for high chill. I'll use that compressor in a project. That'll look better than something like this that's modern. This is a pretty good breed compressor too. Embraco make a lot of compressors. But any other newer fridges have pretty much got a tiny compressor about a quarter the size of that, and compressors from China. They're pretty unreliable nowadays, so salvage them while you can for your project. It's good to play around with some refrigeration. Since high chilled you can't get your ass kicked for legally, because it's a naturally clean refrigerant anyway, so I'll stick with that. That's a good candidate for recovering out of small systems. I could probably put some here, a high chill recovery tank. Again, it's not a certified recovery tank even for high chill, because high chill have their own specified and tested proper tank for it. You pretty much you can get. I know they do have refrigerant in these sorts of tanks, the same tanks as these with a burst disc. But the valve's different, so you can get liquid up out of it. It's the only difference. There's no way I can gauge pressure in this thing. Pretty much once you hit 350 psi, this just ruptures, so you don't blow yourself up. You pretty much relying on that if it goes over pressure when you're sucking with the compressor and putting recovering refrigerant into here. That's always important, but keep an eye on your gauges. Always trust, yeah, use your gauges and doing that. Anyway, that'll be enough for now. Thanks for watching.